Hello, hello, and welcome to. Hold on, I gotta fix up the lighting first. Welcome to. What the heck? I just got an ad on my own stream. Welcome to what is going to be something very different than what I've ever done before. Uh, this is something that I don't think I've seen anybody else in the weather community do. This is actually an idea that I got from several political debaters in like in the community. They will give ChatGPT a topic and they will discuss it. They ask ChatGPT to take a certain position and then they will debate it. And I've only seen it in things like the political community, but I thought it would be really interesting to apply something like that to a weather debate. Um, it's going to be. Wait, did I misspell something? I don't know. Oh wait, yes, thank you. I didn't even notice that. Thank you so much. That would have been horrible. This is going to be a very interesting live stream. Hopefully, you guys enjoy it. We've got a few planned out topics. The main one, obviously, the main focus is going to be on what was the strongest tornado of all time. We've also got several other topics planned out. Some of these topics include, I've got them all written out here, was the April 3rd, 1974 super outbreak the most influential tornado outbreak of all time for the National Weather Service? We've got things like, does the EF scale need to be revamped? Has any tornado ever had a 3-second wind gust at the surface of over 300 miles per hour? And again, several other things. And again, if you guys do want to go ahead and request a debate topic, again, it must be weather related. Make sure to do so. You can do so by either donating $10 through PayPal, or you can do it through just YouTube Super Chats. Anyway, are Levi, Jesse, Vincent, and Davis the most handsome people in the WX community? Come on, they already knew that. It's too easy. But in all seriousness, guys, I hope you guys do enjoy this live stream. Again, I've never done something like this before, and I don't know if I'm going to do something like this in the future. I will say there's a good chance that I end up clipping this into a video as well if things end up good enough. Hi YouTube, if you're watching on a separate video, if I decide to upload this. Everybody in chat, say hi to the video. Just do it. Just do it. But yeah, so hopefully we're going to have a spirited and respectful debate. But in all seriousness, I think it's about time to get into this. So again, God bless everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. I personally am, mainly because I just woke up like 2 hours ago. So we'll see how this goes. I genuinely don't know. I may get cooked or I may cook. I do want to wait for like a few more people to get in here before we start getting things going. But we'll get going here within the next 3 or 4 minutes at a maximum. So again, I have not done any practice. I have not done any prior asking ChatGPT questions about these topics. I told a few people that I was going to do it, and they tried to spoil the answers for me, but I made sure to get out of that. So we'll see if we cook today. I will say it's going to be an audible discussion. So I'm going to be talking to it. It's going to be talking back. Yes, I paid $20. $20 just so that it can talk to me. $20 for this one live stream. So you guys better like this. Like up the stream. Share it with a friend. Again, this is going to be an influential moment in the history of the weather community. So, again, before we get started, I guess we could go ahead and talk about some other things, because it's going to be very hard for me to talk to chat intermittently during this, because as soon as I start talking, it picks up that I'm saying something. Now, I can mute myself, but anyway, a few things that we need to discuss. Spiritwood, North Dakota, got downgraded from EF3 intensity to EF2 intensity. One of the homes had the top story completely ripped off, but outside of that, we didn't really have a whole lot of damage indicators from Spiritwood, just because it was in a relatively rural area. What else is there to note? Trying to think if there's any other recent topics that we can discuss. Excuse me. I really don't think there is. We're awaiting information on our tornado that impacted portions of northern Minnesota yesterday. The next several days look relatively tame, but the upper Midwest could end up seeing some big time hailstorms, so we'll see what happens. Um, but yeah, I mean, let's get going here, chat. So how we're gonna do this is we're gonna go ahead and open up ChatGPT. And again, there is a feature that I paid $20 for one live stream, so that we can talk back and forth. So we're gonna start off this stream with the first topic being: has any tornado ever recorded a 3-second gust at the surface of 300 miles per hour or higher? And I'm going to be taking the position of no, it has not. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to turn my sound up to make sure that you guys can hear this. Again, I hope you all are having an amazing day. And let's go ahead and get right into this. Hello, ChatGPT.
Hey there. How's it going? What's on your mind today?
So in this little conversation, I want to have a series of spirited debates over certain topics relating to and around different phenomena of tornadoes and tornadic activity. I'm going to be asking some questions, and I'm going to ask you to take certain positions on debate topics, so that we can kind of go back and forth. At any moment during these debates, if you feel that you have been backed into a corner and you don't have any rebuttals, then you can concede and we can move on to the next topic. Try to keep each individual response that you give me whenever we're in a debate to, say, 45 seconds or less. But just let me know if that sounds good, and then we can go ahead and get into the first debate topic.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm definitely up for it. I'll do my best to take a stance and keep things concise. So whenever you're ready, hit me with the first debate topic.
Hold on, before we get into that, can you tell everybody in the stream chat to like and subscribe?
Absolutely. Hey, everyone watching, if you're enjoying the stream, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps out, and we appreciate the support. All right, let's dive into it.
All right, so the first topic that I have here right now is: has a singular tornadic wind gust ever exceeded 300 miles per hour for 3 seconds or longer at the surface level, that of which being anywhere between 0 feet and 50 feet up into the atmosphere? I'm going to be taking the positioning of no, it hasn't. I want you to take the positioning of yes, it has happened. You can use information from Doppler on wheels data, radar data, whatever you want. Just try to make sure that you back up every point that you make. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. Give me just a second here. What's up, Matthew? All right, so go right ahead. So, reason why you think that a tornado has ever had a 300 mile per hour surface gust for 3 seconds or longer?
All right, so there's some pretty strong evidence from the Doppler on wheels data that some of the most intense tornadoes, like the Bridge Creek Moore tornado in 1999, had wind speeds measured at over 300 miles per hour. While those measurements were taken a bit above the surface, it's pretty reasonable to think that those intense gusts could have reached the surface level for at least a few seconds. So that would be my argument.
Okay, so I like that argument. Again, as you mentioned, those gusts were elevated, and I wanted to ask you, obviously, it is entirely possible that there were over 300 mile per hour gusts recorded, but were those 3-second long gusts, or were those instantaneous gusts?
That's a fair point. A lot of those extreme measurements are more instantaneous, like these peak wind speeds that happen for just a fraction of a second. So having that sustained 3-second gust at over 300 miles per hour is definitely harder to prove at the surface level.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you have any other examples of tornadoes that you think could have had a 3-second gust of over 300 miles per hour? Again, anywhere between 0 and 50 feet up into the atmosphere?
Another good candidate might be the 2013 El Reno tornado, which was incredibly large and intense. It had some extreme wind measurements as well, though again, a lot of those are recorded at a higher level. But given its strength and size, it's possible that for a few seconds near the surface, it might have hit that threshold as well.
Okay, so I like that argument. Before we get further, and it's fine either way, but I wanted to take your opinion. Do you think that if there were over 300 mile per hour gusts, would they be associated with a subvortice of the tornado or the actual main condensation funnel itself? I want to hear your opinion on that.
That's a really interesting question. I think it's more likely that those extreme gusts would be associated with subvortices. Those smaller, more intense vortices that spin around the main funnel can produce these super high wind speeds, even more so than the main funnel itself. So I'd lean towards subvortices being the cause.
Right. So, I wanted to ask you something. If there were to be over 300 mile per hour wind gusts at the surface that lasted for 3 seconds long, do you not think we would have seen some more intense damage? Now, I understand obviously that the El Reno 2013 tornado happened in a very rural area and impacted very few structures, and the structures that it did impact were, for the most part, at the end of the tornado's lifetime whenever the tornado started weakening a bit. But I wanted to ask you, do you not think that there would be more intense ground scouring? Perhaps do you not think that there would be more intense, examples of contextuals? Obviously, there was some very extreme car mangling, but it's nothing that we haven't seen with other tornadoes that were almost certainly under 250 mile an hour wind gusts at their peak intensity. So, do you not think that we would have more intense damage if that were the case?
That's a really solid point. If we did have sustained 300 mile per hour winds at the surface for a few seconds, we might indeed see even more extreme damage indicators like deeper ground scouring or more intense structural damage that goes beyond what we've already seen. So it's definitely a strong argument that if those gusts were truly sustained, we would notice even more extreme damage than what we've documented so far.
Okay, so you've conceded your point on the Bridge Creek Moore tornado as those were likely instantaneous gusts. Do you concede on El Reno?
All right, you make a really strong case. I think I can concede on El Reno as well, given the evidence and the damage that we have on record. It seems more likely that those gusts were either instantaneous or just didn't quite reach that threshold for that long at the surface. So I'll give you that one.
So I'll give you. You know what? I'll give you one more tornado. Do you think there's one other example that could have had surface wind gusts over 300 miles an hour? Actually, give me just a second. Somebody in chat just asked if you're just going to agree with me no matter what. Is it true that you're going to agree with me no matter what, or did I program you at the start to debate me in a spirited way and try to not give up unless you must concede your point?
Oh, I'm definitely here to debate you and give it my best shot. I promise I'm not just agreeing with you for the sake of it. I'm definitely trying to make the strongest case I can. But if you present a really good argument, then I got to concede. So I'm here for the spirited debate for sure.
Alrighty, thank you. So, again, one more example. Can I get one more example of a tornado that may or may not have had a surface gust for 3 seconds or longer that exceeded 300 miles per hour? And again, by surface level, we mean anywhere between 0 and 50 feet up into the atmosphere. And again, you don't just have to use Doppler on wheels data. You can use contextual evidence. You can use damage indicators confirmed by the National Weather Service or other sources that are reliable. You can do whatever you want in your power to give a wind gust any sort of credibility at the surface level of 300 miles an hour for 3 seconds or longer. So again, just one more example, and then we'll kind of wrap things up with deciding whoever we think has the better case.
All right, one more contender that comes to mind is the 2007 Greensburg tornado in Kansas. It was an EF5 and caused some incredible destruction. There were some indications of really intense winds, and while we don't have a confirmed 3 second 300 mile per hour gust at the surface, the extent of the damage and some of the debris patterns might suggest that it got close. So that could be another possible example to consider.
Okay, so Greensburg, Kansas, you say. Can you give an example of the damage that you think would be an indicator of a wind gust exceeding 300 miles an hour for 3 seconds or longer at the surface level?
Well, one of the things that stands out with Greensburg is the level of destruction where buildings were completely swept away down to the foundation, and you had things like vehicles being thrown really far distances. Now, while that is definitely consistent with very high-end EF5 damage, it's still a little bit tricky to say for sure that it crossed that 300 mile per hour threshold for a sustained period, but it definitely shows how intense those winds were.
Okay, so That's a really good point. I do want to note that those structures, while well constructed, there are numerous, as I'm sure you know, numerous instances of well built homes being slabbed with most of the debris swept off of their foundation. Now, obviously, you've got things like car mangling. You've also got instances of damage to storm shelters, I believe. I believe that to be true. Somebody in my chat pointed it out to me, and I'm pretty sure that's accurate information. But I do want to note that, again, other instances of this happening with tornadoes that had wind gusts that likely didn't exceed 300 miles an hour have probably occurred. For example, the Hackleburg Phil Campbell tornado did significant damage to storm shelters. Homes that were well built and swept completely off their foundation can be found widespread during the instance of the Smithville, Mississippi tornado. So, if you're saying that Greensburg, Kansas exceeded gusts of 300 miles an hour or greater at the surface, would those tornadoes of Smithville and Hackleburg, Phil Campbell, not have had to have had the same fates, especially considering that they moved even faster than the Greensburg, Kansas tornado and had less time to do the damage?
That's definitely a great point. The Hackleburg, Phil Campbell, and Smithville tornadoes also produced that extreme EF5 damage where well built structures were completely wiped out. And since those tornadoes were moving quickly and still caused such intense damage, it does suggest that you can get that level of destruction without necessarily having a sustained 300 mile per hour gust at the surface. So that definitely supports the argument that Greensburg, while incredibly intense, might not have reached that sustained threshold either.
All right, sweet. So we can go ahead and concede on this point here. I'm going to go ahead and click my mute button, and then I will unmute and start talking again whenever I'm ready to debate the next point. I've just got to kind of catch up with my chat here for a little bit and talk about our little discussion that we had. So does that sound good?
Absolutely. That sounds perfect. Take your time, and I'll be right here whenever you're ready for the next round. Enjoy chatting with everyone.
Chat. I think we won. I think that we won. It's just taking your points and then latching onto your point and saying the obvious when it held a different opinion. No, I don't know what else you want me to do because we asked it to debate us in a spirited livelihood. Here, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. Hey, ChatGPT, so I'm getting some reports in the chat that you're going a little easy on me. I want you to really, really dig deep and find some evidence whenever we do our next debate topic, and I want you to go as hard as you can and not just concede every time that I make a point. Again, if you feel the need to concede because there is no logical way out of the reasoning corner that I've shoved you into, then you can go ahead and concede your point. But outside of that, some viewers are requesting that you fight really hard for this next topic so that we can get some more entertaining content and so that it's not too easy for me.
Got it. I'm all in for the challenge. I will definitely bring my A game for the next debate topic and really dig in and make it as spirited as possible. So let's make it exciting and bring on the next topic whenever you're ready.
All right, give me about 60 seconds here.
No worries at all. Take your time. I'll be right here when you're ready to jump back in.
No, that's fair, Kevin. That's fair. So next topic, and again, hopefully it'll go a little bit more intense on us this time because yes, you can make the case that maybe it was going a little bit too easy. We're going to be talking about a very controversial one. We honestly may want to save this for later in the video. Should we do this now or later in the video, chat? Does the EF scale need to be revamped? And this is going to be controversial, but my positioning is going to be no. And I've got a pretty wild case to make for it. Alright, I'm seeing a lot of people saying we need to do it now. Again, if you want to request your own topic, you can go ahead and donate $10 either through Super Chats or PayPal. Again, not required in any way, obviously, but I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. But yeah, I think we're just we're about ready to hop into this next topic here. So again, thank you all for tuning in. God bless you guys. It's going to be a very, very fun afternoon and evening here. Again, first topic, we went over I think we won very easily. Again, perhaps it was going a little bit too easy on us. I also just had a very easy side to take. It's very hard to make any sort of evidence that there's been a wind gust exceeding 300 miles an hour at the surface for 3 seconds or longer with any tornadic activity. But I think I think it's time. So let's go and get right into it. Alrighty, ChatGPT, I am ready for our next debate. So I'm going to now be debating with you whether or not the EF, standing for the Enhanced Fujita Scale, needs revamped. And I'm going to be taking the positioning of no, it doesn't need to be revamped. Now, I would like to note that the main reason that several hundred, if not thousand people in the weather community think that it needs to be revamped is due to the fact that we have not had an EF5 tornado since 2013, but there's been quite a bit of evidence that there have been several tornadoes that could have caused damage that should have gotten at that EF5 rating. There's also a couple other issues with it. For example, not enough different types of damage indicators. So those are kind of the points that I want you to make against me with evidence, and then I am going to refute them to the best of my ability, and I'm going to try to take the positioning of no, the Enhanced Fujita Scale does not need revamped. So whenever you're ready, just go ahead and get started.
All right,
Let's go.
let's dive in. So, one of the key arguments for revamping the enhanced Fujita scale is that gap in EFI ratings since 2013. We've seen tornadoes with incredible damage, but they haven't quite reached that EFI designation, which suggests maybe the scale isn't capturing the full intensity of these storms. Also, the limited number of damage indicators can sometimes make it tough to accurately assess a tornado's true strength, especially in rural areas where there aren't as many structures. So that definitely opens up the conversation for improving the scale to better capture these extreme events.
Okay, well, I would like to ask you then, what is a tornado that deserved to have gotten that EF5 rating?
One tornado that often gets brought up is the 2021 Winterset, Iowa tornado. A lot of people felt that the damage was right on the cusp of EF5, but it ultimately got rated EF4, and that stirred up a lot of debate in the weather community, with some people thinking that if we had more nuanced damage indicators, it might have pushed it into that EF5 category.
Okay, so I would like to ask you something. Do you think that there were any damage indicators that supported a contextual rating of EF5 intensity with the Winterset tornado? And I would like to ask, like, in particular, what they were, preferably with their estimated location, if that's okay, and a couple of other things. I want to know what damage indicators you're referring to that should have gotten this tornado the highest rating possible, because the EF scale, in my opinion, again, obviously, I'm going to say it doesn't need to be revamped. I don't understand how, out of every option, Winterset was the reason that you say that the EF scale needs to be revamped. Because there have been several dozens of tornadoes in recent history that, in my opinion, deserve that rating more. But we'll see. Just go ahead and give your case for Winterset, and also, again, try to tie in the case of why this should lead the EF scale to be revamped for this one. Since it's a bit more complicated, you can give, 60 or 70-second response for this one.
Sure. So with the Winterset tornado, one of the key damage indicators that stood out was a well-constructed home that was almost completely swept off its foundation. There were also some large vehicles that were thrown a considerable distance, which can sometimes point to that higher intensity. The idea is that if we had more detailed or varied damage indicators, especially in areas that don't have a lot of structures, we might be able to more accurately capture that level of intensity. And that's why some people think a revamp could help us better classify these really powerful tornadoes.
Okay, so I'd like to ask you something. You noted that the car mangling and cars being thrown, however many yards, should be a reason for this tornado getting the highest rating possible. As you know, the National Weather Service typically doesn't survey pieces of contextual damage like that. In this hypothetical new rating scale, would you recommend that we start rating tornadoes based off of their contextual damage, like cars being thrown hundreds of yards, for example, trains being derailed, ground scouring, stuff like that? Would you recommend that we do that more often and in every case? So just go ahead and give me your response to that.
I think it could definitely be useful to incorporate more of those contextual damage indicators, like vehicles being thrown long distances or even ground scouring, because that can give us a fuller picture of the tornado's intensity, especially in cases where there aren't a lot of buildings or traditional structures around. It wouldn't necessarily replace the current system, but it could complement it and help ensure that we capture the full scope of a tornado's power.
I have a question for you though. Would those indices not range quite a bit? Because, for one, for example, where cars were picked up, we don't know if they were picked up inside of whenever inside of the condensation funnel, or if they were picked up from a gust just within the wind field of the tornado. So, first of all, we don't know that. We also don't know how intense and how far these vehicles were thrown in all cases. And I'd like to note that these are very subjective cases that can range in intensity feats in a wide margin. For example, say there was a 1985 Corolla picked up and thrown 100 yards or whatsoever. The quality of that vehicle may have degraded over time, and it's just kind of a messy rabbit hole that makes things very hard to include whenever you're talking about official surveying. So I just don't know. What do you think?
That's definitely a valid concern. I think there's a lot of variability when it comes to things like vehicles or other contextual indicators, and it can be subjective. So it would definitely need to be done carefully and maybe used more as a supplementary indicator rather than a primary one. But it could still add some valuable context, especially in combination with other damage indicators.
But would it not also lead to some instances of tornadoes being misrated, overrated, or underrated? Oh, that was a bad voice crack. Would it not lead to some instances of tornadoes being overrated, underrated, or just misrated in general because we don't know the full scale of those contextual damage instances at all times? Like, I think it would be more important just to kind of not include them and, not run the risk of overrating tornadoes like crazy, underrating tornadoes like crazy, just based off of contextual pieces of evidence that can widely range in a lot of scenarios. So, I just want to know what you think on that.
That's definitely a fair point, and I think that's one of the reasons why the current system focuses on more standardized indicators. Relying too heavily on those contextual clues could definitely introduce inconsistencies and might lead to some tornadoes being overestimated or underestimated. So it would definitely need to be used carefully, and it's understandable why the emphasis remains on those more consistent damage indicators.
So, is there anything else wrong with the enhanced Fujita scale that you think needs or leads the need for a new scale to be introduced?
One other point that some folks bring up is that the EF scale is heavily reliant on structural damage, which can be a bit limiting, especially in rural areas where there might not be many buildings. It can sometimes underestimate the strength of tornadoes that move through open areas. Some people suggest incorporating more meteorological data like radar measurements to help give a fuller picture, but it's definitely a nuanced discussion for sure.
So, I would like to ask, what do you recommend we do in situations where there is a tornado in the open field? What kind of pieces of evidence could be used other than, for example, structure damage? Say there's no cars picked up, there's no vehicles derailed, there's no, even trees damaged, there's no homes. How would we be able to determine their intensity just based off of them traveling through an open field more accurately than what we already do with the enhanced Fujita scale? Like, what would be your solution there that wouldn't lead to a wide range of problems with the misrating?
That's definitely one of the toughest challenges, and it's part of the reason why the EF scale relies so heavily on structural damage. In open fields, it could be helpful to use advanced radar data, maybe even mobile Doppler measurements to get a better sense of wind speeds. And sometimes ground scouring can give clues, but it is tricky. So I think a combination of more advanced technology and maybe some supplementary indicators could help in those situations.
So you mentioned the feat of ground scouring, but again, ground scouring is a wide range. For example, there have been instances of EF2 tornadoes with minor ground scouring, but there have also been some tornadoes that have been rated EF5 that have either the same level of ground scouring or even less ground scouring than those EF2 tornadoes. So ground scouring obviously ranges very widely in terms of a damage fee. So I want to know why you think that ground scouring would be a good addition to this quote-unquote hypothetical new scale that we're inventing here.
That was definitely a valid point. ground scouring can vary a lot and it can happen in tornadoes of different intensities. So it might not be the most reliable standalone indicator. It would really have to be used in conjunction with other evidence. So I think the key would be using multiple indicators together rather than relying on any one factor alone.
Okay, but I ask you, is that not already what the enhanced Fujita skill does?
Yes, you're absolutely right. The enhanced Fujita scale does indeed rely on a combination of multiple damage indicators and tries to take all those factors into account to get the most accurate rating possible. So, in many ways, it's already doing a pretty solid job of capturing the intensity of tornadoes using a balanced approach.
Okay, so do we think after all this, do you still think that there would needs to be a new scale introduced? I just want to know if you have any other reasoning, like one final piece of evidence for why we need a new scale. Because again, we've covered over the fact that tornadoes in rural areas get heavily underrated in some cases. We also covered what we were just talking about there. I mean, do you have any other reason that we should introduce a new scale? Because the enhanced Fujita scale is an extremely complex scale that took several not just several, but dozens of highly trained engineers and National Weather Service meteorologists to create. And I just think that it would be a mighty task to invent a new one that would be, so much more superior to the enhanced Fujita scale. And I just think that it would lead to a wide range of problems and open up a can of worms that we don't really need to get into just because the scale that we have now works very well, in my opinion, in rating most tornadoes. So, again, if you just have one other point that you'd like to make as to why we needed a new scale, that would be spectacular.
I definitely see where you're coming from, and you're right that the enhanced Fujita scale is a really well designed and robust system. If there's one last point to consider, it might be that as our technology understanding of tornadoes continues to evolve, there could be room for refining or expanding the scale in the future, just to make sure that we're capturing all the nuances. But overall, I think the current system does a great job.
Sorry, I spaced out. What did you say?
No worries at all. I was just saying that the enhanced Fujita scale is already pretty robust and it does a great job with the tools and indicators we have. The only potential reason for considering any updates in the future would be as technology and our understanding of tornadoes continues to advance. We might find new ways to refine or expand the scale, but overall, it definitely does its job well right now.
Okay, so you think that we don't need to create a new scale anytime in the near future until new technology or understanding of tornadoes comes to light?
Exactly. I think the current scale serves us really well for now, and it's always good to keep an open mind for the future, but there's no urgent need to overhaul it anytime soon.
Alrighty, thank you. So, what I'm gonna do is again, I'm gonna kind of chill out here for just a few moments, talking to chat, kind of getting my thoughts back. Just an FYI, I'm not running on very much sleep. I think I went to bed at like 4 a.m. last night, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, I'll get back to you here in a couple of minutes, and then we can go ahead and continue our debate.
Got it. Take all the time you need, and definitely make sure you get some rest when you can. I'll be right here whenever you're ready to jump back in.
Alrighty, chat. So there we go. There we go. So they pretty much conceded on the enhanced Fujita scale, like super hard. Like I didn't expect that, especially after we asked it to go more aggressive. They said straight up, and again, we asked them to take the positioning of yes, we need a new one, and they eventually had to concede that no, it's fine. I mean, that's crazy. And again, they said maybe in the future, and I agree with that. But wow, I will say this is a lot of fun, guys. This is awesome. Um, Bakersfield Valley, bro. I can't with the Bakersfield Valley take. There's no evidence. Gosh, dude. I don't know about 235. Definitely not 235 at the surface. But um anyway, I mean that was interesting. What do you mean how? There's no evidence to support that rolling fork was 235 plus. I mean, it's possible, but we don't know. No, no, no. There's a difference between Bakersfield and Bakersfield Valley, guys. Bakersfield, Missouri is something completely different. Um, do we want to get into the next topic here, chat? I mean, so far I feel like we've been cooking pretty hard. I mean, so far we've also had some pretty easy takes, and again later we're gonna get into some more consequential, extreme debates where it's gonna be harder to back up our points. So we'll see what happens. Um, and again, it'll all culminate to the question: what was the strongest tornado of all time? Um, but yeah. Well, I feel like this was a pretty unpopular side that I just took. Just like how Amory was 250 plus. No, you cannot use the same evidence for rolling fork as we can for Amory, because for one thing, the velocities were elevated a ridiculous height. Also, they were not nearly as intense, even considering. So, what do you mean the Amory 250 argument is so discombobulated? I gave you evidence. I debated you and Roman that one time, and not to toot my own horn, but you guys kind of backed off. That's not to say, oh gosh, that was a bad voice crack. That's not to say that you don't have a point to defend it, but I'm just saying. Kevin doesn't have his priorities straight. Bakersfield, Missouri, the rating should not have been 165 plus, but intensity wise, almost certainly, yeah. Okay, saying Amory was only 170 is ridiculous. We're not talking about damage, we're talking about peak gusts, so. Also, New Ren Amory is heck overrated, bro. Okay. So, I think it's time for our next topic. Yeah, New Ren is not EF5. My next claim is the most influential tornado outbreak for the future of the National Weather Service and warning systems in general was April 3rd, 1974's super outbreak in the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. So we're going to see if it can give us an outbreak that was more influential and consequential for the future of weather, but um, so anyway, I think it's about time. Again, thank you all for tuning in today. God bless all you guys. We are getting some pretty wild viewership today. But I will say, like up the stream, chat. Like up the stream. Like up the stream, gang. I want to make sure I didn't miss any donos. I don't think I did, because it should send me an email. But again, if you guys have a topic you want to discuss, just, again, donate $10 either through Super Chats or PayPal. Not required in any way, though, obviously. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. But yeah. Just give me just a second here. Make sure we didn't miss anything. We did not. We're good. So anyway. let's, no, voice chat ended. Turn on background sessions, turn on. It should keep with the same logic and reasoning, though, so we should be fine. Alrighty, so again, my next claim is that April 3rd, 1974 was the most significant outbreak for the future of the weather community and National Weather Service meteorologists due to the fact that it led to half of the time for most tornado warnings in terms, or excuse me, double the time for most tornado warnings in terms of leeway. It also led to the development of NEXRAD radar data, which is arguably the most consequential decision in the entirety of the development of weather radars. Um, but anyway, let's do it. So, let's go. Hello, ChatGPT. I accidentally exited our conversation. Do you still have the same knowledge and prior data as what we've been talking about, or did you reset?
Hey there, I still have our conversation right here, so no worries at all. We can pick up right where we left off.
Alrighty. So again, I want you to be as aggressive, well, not aggressive, but as reliable and as informative as possible for this next topic. Again, I want you to really go at it, and again, only concede if you feel that there's no piece of logical evidence to dispute any points that I make. But I would like to ask you to take the positioning that the April 3rd, 1974 super tornado outbreak across the Tennessee and Ohio valleys wasn't the most influential tornado outbreak for the future of the development of weather radars and no weather radios, and the most consequential outbreak in weather history. I'm going to be taking the positioning that it was. Again, I would like you to come up with outbreaks that were more influential for the future of the weather community. But yeah, I am going to go ahead and start off this time, because I believe you started off last time. I believe that the April 3rd, 1974 super tornado outbreak was the most influential in the history of weather outbreaks due to the fact that it led to almost double the leeway time on tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings. In terms of them being issued and people having time to get to their shelter or whatever, it led to the development of much, much better NOAA weather radio coverage across portions of Dixie Island and the Ohio Valley. I believe something like less than 5% of homes owned NOAA weather radios before the 1974 super outbreak, and now they're, virtually found in every other household. So, not only that, it also led to the addition of the NEXRAD radar data, which, in my opinion, is the most consequential upgrade to radar and really any sort of weather technology in general in all of history. But again, I want you to argue an outbreak that you think was more influential than the April 3rd, 1974 super outbreak for the development of the weather community and getting, all those things out faster and better.
All right, that's a really strong case for the 1974 outbreak. Another outbreak that often comes up as hugely influential is the 2011 super outbreak, which actually surpassed the 1974 event in terms of the number of tornadoes. The 2011 outbreak was a huge catalyst for advancing dual polarization radar, improving warning communication, and even pushing for better building codes in tornado-prone areas. It also led to a lot of advancements in social science research on how people receive and act on warnings, which has also been pretty influential.
Okay, I agree with that. I would like to say, though, that the 2011 super outbreak, for the most part, in my opinion, was or excuse me, I think that the 2011 outbreak wasn't quite as consequential because the 1974 super outbreak introduced a lot of these things. Like, again, they didn't necessarily introduce no weather radios after the event, but the reason for them was or excuse me, it led to them being much more widespread. Also, can you go ahead, sorry, we'll continue the argument here in just a second. Can you go ahead and say W in the chat for Rural Girl 10 for the $10 donation?
Of course. Big W in the chat for Rural Girl 10 for that $10 donation. That's awesome. And thank you so much for the support.
Alrighty, so anyway, as I was saying, the 1974 super outbreak led to a lot of these things being introduced, and it led to no weather radios becoming more widespread at a much more intense rate than the 2011 super outbreak. Also, the 1974 super outbreak is largely the reason that we have tornado sirens today. Before the 1974 super outbreak, they were typically just used for foreign affair worries, for example, nuclear missiles and atomic threats. So I think that tornado sirens, as well as the more widespread coverage of NOAA weather radios, as well as the fact of Doppler and X-rad radar data becoming more advanced, is more influential than what the 2011 super outbreak did for the community. I would like to note, you said something about the NOAA, you said something about the advancement of tornado warning leeway times. The 1974 super outbreak, again, it has evidence for those points. I don't think 2011's super outbreak has evidence that it led to tornado warning leeway times cutting down, or growing up. I would also like to point out, you do make a case about building codes. The 1974 super outbreak led to also better building codes in a way, but at the same time, it also led to many storm shelters being put in place across Dixie Alley. Not a lot of storm shelters before the 1974 super outbreak, so I want to see how you'd respond to that and still try to make the case that 2011 was more influential, if at all possible.
Those are all really great points. I think one of the key distinctions with the 2011 outbreak is that it happened in an era where we had more advanced technology to begin with. So the improvements were maybe more nuanced. For example, the push for dual polarization radar upgrades after 2011 helped improve our ability to detect debris and get more accurate tornado warnings. And while 1974 set the foundation, 2011 really refined and built on that foundation. So I kind of like the difference between introducing something new and then perfecting it later on.
Okay, so I'd like to ask you something. Were dual polarization radar sets not already a thing for the 2011 super outbreak, like before the super outbreak? I believe they were.
You're right. Dual polarization radar was already being implemented before the 2011 outbreak. What that outbreak did was really accelerate the adoption and the final rollout of that technology across the country. So it was less about introducing it and more about speeding up how quickly it got fully integrated. So it definitely refined and pushed things forward, even if it didn't introduce it from scratch.
Okay. So my take here, that the 1974 super outbreak was more consequential than the 2011 super outbreak, again, comes down to the introduction of NextRad radar data, which is, in my opinion, I'd assume you agree, more influential than the coverage of dual polarization radars becoming more widespread. Again, obviously, the dual polarization radars are probably more helpful, but again, there was just a better technology introduction in 2011 than there was in 1974, obviously, so that plays a part. And I don't think that we would have come through those steps of 2011 of the dual polarization radars if we didn't have the 1974's super outbreak leading to the introduction of NextRad radar data. So I think in large part, the accomplishments there that happened after the destruction of the 2011 super outbreak wouldn't have happened without 1974. Would you agree with that or disagree?
I definitely agree that the 1974 outbreak laid the groundwork for so many advancements, including NextRad. It was a pivotal moment that really pushed the development of these technologies. So in a sense, the 2011 outbreak built upon the foundation that 1974 established. It's almost like both outbreaks were crucial in their own ways, with 1974 being the catalyst and 2011 helping to refine and advance what was already in place.
Okay, so we can go ahead and move along from this take because Rural Girl 10, as we mentioned, did donate $10 earlier, and they asked me to debate you on whether or not there should be an EF6 rating. I'm going to take the positioning of no, there should not be the addition of an EF6 rating on top of what we already have of the scale. I want you to take the positioning of yes and give reasoning why. We'll have this discussion here in about 2 or 3 minutes. But yeah, just go ahead and prepare yourself, whatever you need to do.
All right, that sounds good. I'm ready whenever you are, and I'll definitely put on my best case for adding that EF6 rating when we dive into it.
That's gonna get clipped. Rural Girl 10, thank you so much for the $10 dono. I don't know if you're still in here, but we are gonna go ahead and do your debate of whether or not there should be an EF6 rating next. Thank you so much for the $10 dono. W's down below in the chat. Um, but yeah. What happened with Sam on X? I don't know what debates are happening in chat, but I'm so confused. Wait, what's the conversation? What's the conversation? What's the debate on? Check what you sent me earlier today. Let me look. I don't see anything. Okay. Um. You believe Smithville didn't reach 300-mile-per-hour winds elevated or at the surface? Instantaneous or 3-second gusts? No, yeah, I know. I fixed it. You know what? Should we get the boys on here for the EF6 debate? I'm gonna get myself a drink. I want the boys to do the EF6 debate. Let's get them on here. Let's see what they can do. If they can call. They're not joining, bro. They ain't joining. Yo, Mr. Twister, you want to do it? If you're down, obviously. You don't have to, but I want to get myself a drink, bro. Alrighty, babe. Let me call you up. You want me to call you on Discord or iMessage? Um, I can do it with you. I was just gonna grab a drink first. Alrighty, let me call you up. You're not getting a call. Is that why Vince didn't pick up? Vince, I called you. I don't know if you are able to call or not. Hold up. And again, we're going to get back into the discussions here in just a second. And again, we're going to start off by doing should there be an EF6 rating, but here, Mr. Twister, I'm going to call up the this group. Hello? Oh, he's muted.
What's up?
Alrighty. I was going to get a drink real quick. Do you want to do the debate with ChatGPT by yourself, or do you want to do it together? How do you want to do this?
I think we should wait because I don't have a strong argument other than the fact that we already don't see EF5, so it's not going to go up very much.
Okay, so
there's not going to be an EF6.
We'll do it whenever I get back. We can do you argue it, then it makes its point, then I'll argue it, then it makes its point, and then we go back to you, and so on and so forth. Does that sound good?
All right. Sounds good.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and get a drink real quick. Chat, Mr. Twister's in charge while I'm gone, so behave yourselves. And I will BRB in 60 to 120 seconds. So let me go ahead and put a BRB on the screen. And as that BRB says, I will be right back.
I hope this time ChatGPT actually argues instead of agreeing with everything he says. Because it's been kind of non-argumentative. I would have to disagree with you on that one, Indiana Hamilton.
I am receiving a phone call.
Your phone ringing.
Okay. Whoop. Are we ready?
I think so.
We'll take turns and we'll see if it notices at first if we're different people or not.
Let's convince it that it has really bad detection of determining if it's different people.
Bet. Alright, let's do this. Let's go. Alrighty, ChatGPT. My next claim is that there should not be the addition of the EF6 intensity rating to our current scale. Many argue that we should. I want you to take the positioning and reason as well as you can and try to not back down unless you feel necessary that there should be an EF6 rating. So again, we'll go back and forth. Again, try to keep your responses under 45 seconds. And let's go ahead and get started. I started last time, so you can go ahead and start up this time. Why do you think that there should be an EF6 rating introduced to the skill?
All right, so one of the main arguments for adding an EF6 rating would be to better differentiate those extremely rare, incredibly intense tornadoes that go beyond what we currently consider EF5. Sometimes we see damage that seems even more catastrophic than a typical EF5, and having that EF6 category could help highlight just how intense and rare those events are. And it could all. I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to
What?
standard now to keep chatting.
Kid! I paid $20 for this! There's an hour limit?
Probably because we were doing it forever last night, and that was less than 24 hours ago.
No, bro. Okay, hold on. Here's what we'll do.
See what happens with standard. I think the voice is just different.
Hello, Grok.
Hey there. I'm guessing you meant to say hi or maybe ask about something
We
specific.
can do this. No, shoot. Stop. Okay. We're gonna do Grok now. Cause ChatGPT scammed me. So we're gonna do Grok. I assume you guys know what Grok is. Give me just a second here. I'm gonna do what Mr. Twister told me not to do and plug my Nintendo Switch cord into my phone. Hello, Grok. I am here right now. I'm going to do a debate with you on whether or not there should be a EF6 rating introduced to the current enhanced Fujita scale that's used to rate tornadoes. I want you to take the positioning of yes, there should be an addition of the EF6 rating, and I will say no, there will not be, or no, there should not be. And I want you to try to keep your responses under 45 seconds. I would like you to try to debate as well as you can. Again, you may concede if you find yourself in a corner with no logical evidence to fight your way out. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and get right into it. Again, we'll take turns debating. You can go ahead and give your reasoning first of why there should be an addition of an EF6 rating.
All right. I'll argue for adding an EF6 rating to the enhanced Fujita scale, keeping it under 45 seconds. The current EF5 tops out at wind speeds above 200 miles per hour, but we've seen tornadoes, like the 2013 El Reno tornado, with estimated winds exceeding 300 miles per hour. These extreme events surpass EF5 thresholds, and an EF6 category would better classify their unprecedented destructive power, improving scientific accuracy and public safety planning. Your turn.
I think that there should not be an EF6 because we already don't see tornadoes that do go up to EF5, and that there would almost never be an EF6 rated tornado in the foreseeable future.
Oh, I don't think it heard you. I think.
Did it not hear me?
Yeah, I don't think it did.
All right, you're up. I just argued that an EF6 rating would help classify tornadoes with winds over 300 miles per
Hey,
hour.
Grok. I would make the case that they should not add an EF6 rating because the EF scale does not rate based off of peak wind gusts measured by Dow or radar data. It measures off of damage done. And I don't think that we've ever had a contextual piece of evidence that goes so far beyond 201 miles an hour that it's necessary to add another rating. I think the most intense thing that you could say would be, perchance, the destruction of a well-built home, I guess. Maybe, surely you can do something better. But out of all that we've seen, I mean, there's not a whole lot that surpasses, 220, 230 miles an hour in terms of actual confirmed damage. And again, the EF scale rates off of damage.
Fair point, but here's why we still need an EF6. The EF scale is damage-based, true, but some tornadoes, like Moore in 1999, obliterated well-built homes to slabs, pushing damage beyond typical EF5 thresholds. An EF6 would capture these rare, catastrophic events with unique structural impacts, refining how we quantify extreme destruction for better research and preparedness. Back to you.
So, I would like to ask you something. What was Bridge Creek Moore's 1999? What was the peak estimated wind gust estimated off of the damage by the National Weather Service?
The National Weather Service rated the 1999 Bridge Creek Moore tornado as an F5 based on damage, with estimated peak wind gusts around 200 to 230 miles per hour, as the EF scale uses damage indicators like the obliteration of well-built homes, not direct radar measurements. Exact wind speeds from damage are tough to pin down, but that's the range they inferred. Want to dive deeper into this or keep debating EF6?
I'm going to keep debating here. I don't understand how you can say that Bridge Creek Moore. First of all, Bridge Creek Moore was during an era where we were not using the. Oh, wait, you're still there. Never mind. Bridge Creek Moore was during the era that we were not using the enhanced Fujita scale and we were just using the F scale, or standing for the Fujita scale. So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because, again, those are two completely different rating systems. And you said that the National Weather Service surveyed Bridge Creek Moore at 200 to 230 miles an hour. Do you think that 230 miles an hour goes so far beyond the EF5 minimum rating of 201 miles an hour that we really need to introduce a new scale?
Good catch on the scale. Bridge Creek Moore was rated F5 on the old Fujita scale, not EF. My bad. But the damage, like homes swept clean to slabs, translates to EF5 on the modern scale, with winds estimated around 200 to 230 miles per hour. Still, some tornadoes show destruction so extreme, like near total obliteration of structures, that EF5's lower bound of 201 feels inadequate. And EF6 could better distinguish these rare apocalyptic events for clearer risk assessment. Your move.
Can you name one instance of a tornado since 2007 during the era of the enhanced Fujita scale that goes so far beyond the EF scale, or excuse me, the EF5 rating that we need to introduce the EF6 rating?
The 2013 El Reno tornado is a prime example. It caused extreme damage, with entire homes obliterated to foundations and vehicles mangled beyond recognition, pushing the limits of EF5 criteria. Radar measured winds over 296 miles per hour, far exceeding the EF5 threshold of 201. An EF6 rating would better capture this exceptional destruction for improved scientific analysis. Your turn.
Again, though, the enhanced Fujita scale doesn't survey based off of radar data or Doppler on wheels radar data. It surveys based off of damage, and the damage didn't support anything higher than an EF3 rating. So how would this be a case for the instance of an EF6 addition to the scale?
You're right. The EF scale is damage based, and El Reno 2013 was rated EF3 due to the lack of well-built structures hit to justify higher. But its extreme winds, estimated near 300 miles per hour by radar, caused unique damage patterns, like asphalt scouring and vehicles obliterated, that EF5 barely covers. An EF6 would help classify such rare, ultra-destructive events when damage indicators are limited, but impacts are catastrophic. Your go.
Again, though, you keep bringing up the 300 mile an hour wind gusts estimated by radar data. The National Weather Service doesn't survey tornadoes based off of the radar data. It's off of the damage that they cause. And El Reno 2013 does not have anywhere nearly enough evidence to support anything beyond an EF5 rating. It doesn't even have any evidence to support an EF5 rating. So how would an EF3 tornado be the reasoning for the introduction of an EF6 rating?
All right, so you're hitting hard on El Reno being EF3 due to damage. Fair. The National Weather Service sticks to damage indicators, and El Reno's path mostly hit open areas, limiting EF5 evidence. But its extreme damage, like ground scoured to dirt and cars mangled into unrecognizable shapes, suggests destructive potential beyond EF5 scope. An EF6 could account for such rare cases where damage is underrepresented but impacts are catastrophic. Over to you.
Okay, but you still have failed to give me an instance where there would need to be the addition of an EF6 tornado because an EF5 rating doesn't do whatever tornado justice. I don't understand why you keep harping on El Reno. Again, El Reno was not anywhere nearly deserving of an EF5 rating, and definitely not anything beyond. So what is an example of a tornado that needs the addition of an EF6 rating?
I hear you on El Reno not cutting it for EF5 due to damage-based ratings. Let's pivot to the 2011 Joplin tornado, rated EF5. It obliterated well-built homes to bare slabs, leveled entire neighborhoods, and caused damage so extreme, like massive buildings reduced to rubble, that it pushed the absolute limits of EF5 criteria. An EF6 could better classify such unprecedented, near total destruction for clearer scientific and safety distinctions. Your turn.
What did the National Weather Service estimate the Joplin, Missouri EF5 tornado's peak wind gust to be?
The National Weather Service estimated the Joplin, Missouri EF5 tornado's peak wind gust to be over 200 miles per hour, with some analyses suggesting up to 250 miles per hour based on extreme
Grok,
damage.
I'm not asking what analyses or radar data led to the, estimation that Joplin was given, or that Joplin had 250-mile-an-hour wind gusts associated with it. I'm asking you, what did the National Weather Service survey the peak wind gust to be with it? They were just over 200 miles an hour. They were at about 205 miles an hour. Is 205 miles an hour really so far beyond 201 miles an hour that we need to introduce a new rating to adequately estimate that?
You're right. The National Weather Service pegged Joplin's peak wind gusts at around 205 miles per hour based on damage, not radar. That's just above the EF5 threshold of 201. But Joplin's near total obliteration of neighborhoods, hospitals, schools, homes reduced to bare slabs shows destruction so extreme it barely fits EF5. An EF6 could better distinguish these catastrophic outliers for precise risk planning. Your go.
We're not. We're not doing this, guys. This is ridiculous. That is the worst freaking argument I think that they could have made. I don't think that they could have said anything more ridiculous than that.
The one thing I do like about Grok is how it's more persistent with ChatGPT and doesn't immediately just give in to you being right.
That is true. I do like that, but it also leads to instances where the user is right and it's just not going to let go whatever it says, no matter how many times the user refutes that. But yeah.
It's pretty stubborn.
We were gonna do our main debate. We were gonna do what was the strongest tornado of all time, but I don't want to do it with Grok, and we don't have ChatGPT, so I don't understand how we're going to do this. I'm thinking, chat, maybe we come back tomorrow for that. I really am, because that's going to be a long debate anyway. And again, that's the last question. We don't have anything else, so we may come back for tomorrow.
I think ChatGPT said you could use standard. I don't know if that will be quite as good as the advanced one.
Yeah, I wanted to give it its all whenever we're doing that one. So hold on, I do have one last question that we can ask it for right now. Hello there, Grok. I wanted to ask you, why should I subscribe to the Davis Does Weather YouTube channel?
Subscribing to Davis Does Weather on YouTube gives you access to detailed, hyper-local weather updates, especially for severe weather events like storms or hurricanes, with a focus on the Birmingham, Alabama area. The channel, tied to ABC 3340, has nearly 1 million subscribers and offers consistent, reliable forecasts from trusted meteorologists. Plus, engaging content like storm chasing videos and weather science explainers that make it worth your while if you're into weather or live in the region.
I'm sorry, Grok is terrible.
I think it just forecasted your future.
No, I think it thinks that I'm James Spann. It was talking about ABC 3340. What is this, bro? This is goofy. Goofy, I tell you. Well, that's cool. Well, I think we did good today. I don't think there was any topic that we lost on. Again, tomorrow we're gonna come back and we're gonna really dive deep on strongest tornado of all time. A lot of you guys probably don't even know which one I'm gonna make the case with, so I'll let you guys figure that out. But I do appreciate all the viewership today. Again, I'm a little off my game because I did not get much sleep, but I think we still did fine. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say for today, chat. Um, it could be time to start wrapping things up here. So, we'll see what happens. But I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say, Mr. Twister?
Just trying to think about what tornado you're gonna make the debate for. I won't say anything.
Oh yeah, I know. I know what I'm gonna do, bro. The viewers don't.
I think I know.
What do you think it is? I won't confirm or deny, but what do you think it is?
I don't know if I should say, but it's the number one on your strongest tornado list, the most recent one, so you know which one that is.
That list has changed like 80 times, though.
Then I guess not. We'll find out tomorrow. So make sure to subscribe to the channel.
Oh, the next
and
episode
turn on
of Dragon
notifications
Ball
so that you'll
Z.
be there.
Iran attack B2 decoy flight. No, that was this morning. Okay. Anyway, chat. Thank you all for watching. Again, God bless everybody. Thank you for the dono, Rural Girl 10. And we'll come back tomorrow with our next discussion. And again, it's just going to be, I think we're literally just going to do strongest tornado of all time because I think that debate could take a while. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.